Assessing and Improving Performance, a presentation prepared by the Group 5 members of the COA Block D for the subject Human Resource Management. This presentation covers the following topics: creating and maintaining high-performance organizations, managing employees' performance, separating and retaining employees. This is to be discussed by each members of the group. Creating and maintaining high-performance organizations. In this topic, we are to define high-performance work systems and identify the elements of such system. We are to summarize the outcomes and describe the conditions that creates a high-performance work system. We are to explain how human resource management can contribute and discuss the role of human resource management technology. Lastly, we are to summarize the ways of measuring the effectiveness of human resource management. To start, let us define high-performance work systems. It is an organization in which technology, organizational structure, people and processes work together seamlessly to give an organization an advantage in the competitive environment. Thus, a system that encourages a work environment in which employees have more involvement and responsibility. Employees are regarded as an important business partner, and due of their dedication to making the company successful, it is possible to establish and retain a competitive edge. Moreover, a high-performance work system's ability is to boost corporate productivity and efficiency is one of its main advantages. The elements of a high-performance work systems has 5 main components, namely organizational structure, task design, people, reward systems, and information systems, in which goes into the process of the organization's goals to performance. Organizational structure is the way the organization's people are grouped into useful divisions, departments, and reporting relationships. Task design is how the details of the organization's necessary activities will be grouped, whether into jobs or team responsibilities. People, in terms of selection, training, and development, are said to be well suited to and well prepared for their jobs. Reward systems include the performance measures by which employees are judged. It is also the methods of measuring performance and the incentive pay and other rewards linked to success of the business. Lastly, information systems is used to collect and store data on an organization's employee like their name, address, age, salary, benefits, time and attendance, performance reviews, and more. This data is valuable input for data-driven decision-making in the HR. The outcomes of a high-performance work system is being shown in the illustration where each component affects or results the following or the other. As there is interesting jobs, the workers are made to be motivated, making them satisfied alone, resulting to having satisfied customers, low absenteeism, and low turnover. With this, lower cost in terms of expenses by the business is made, keeping the profit higher. Also, if knowledge sharing is made by each employees, productivity is highlighted and product innovation can be done, making products into something that is enjoyed because of its high quality. That makes a customer satisfied and attracts more sales, which also results to higher profits. Moreover, it is a domino effect that when one results great, everything follows. Aside from this, the outcomes of each employee and work group contribute to the system's overall high performance. The organization's individuals and group works efficiently, provide high-quality goods and services, and contributes to meeting the organization's goals. Lastly, when the organization adds and changes goals, people are flexible and make changes as to needed to meet the new goals. The conditions that contribute to high performance enumerates the following. First, teams perform work. Employees participate in selection. Employees receive formal performance feedback and are actively involved in the performance improvement process. Ongoing training is emphasized and rewarded. Employees' rewards and compensation relate to the company's financial performance. Equipment and work processes are structured, and technology is used to encourage maximum flexibility and interaction among employees. Employees participate in planning changes in equipment, layout, and work methods. Work design allows employees to use a variety of skills. Employees understand how their jobs contribute to the finished product or service. Lastly, ethical behavior is encouraged. What was enumerated earlier will then be discussed according to its components in employee empowerment and engagement, knowledge sharing, job satisfaction, and employee engagement and ethics.
Now let us move on to HRM's contribution to high performance. Management of human resources plays a critical role in determining companies' success in meeting the challenges of a rapidly changing, highly competitive environment. Research suggests that it is more effective to improve HRM practices as a whole than to focus on one or two isolated practices, such as the organization's pay structure or selection system. Some researches indicate that companies attempting to piecemeal or partially choosing what to employ the application of these practices are less likely to succeed compared to those that holistically adopt these approaches. Companies that seek to employ high-performance work systems, or simply HPWS, should know how to most effectively and efficiently incorporate the human resource management practices of HPWS. It has been already established that HRM practices are significant to incorporate a high-performance work system. Some of the most common HRM practices are flashed on the screen, such as pay systems reward skills and accomplishments, work design permits flexibility in where and when tasks are performed, and performance management system measures satisfaction and quality. These HRM practices allow organizations to achieve high performance. However, this can be grouped into 5 major categories: job design, recruitment and selection, training, performance management, and compensation. Let's talk about each category. Job design. Job design enables the organization to benefit from teamwork and employee empowerment, two of the work conditions associated with high performance. Job design is how a task or entire work should be done or organized. It helps answer the question what tasks should be done, how they should be done, and in what order should they be done. It is within this category that employee empowerment is observed. One way to empower employees is by giving them decision-making responsibilities, or in other words, by decentralizing decision-making. Next is recruitment and selection. Recruitment and selection aim at obtaining employees who are enthusiastic about and able to contribute to teamwork, empowerment, and knowledge sharing. Qualities such as creativity and the ability to cooperate as part of a team may play a large role in selection decisions. A high-powered organization, one that employs high-performance work system, knows how crucial employees are in achieving company goals. As early as recruitment and selection, it is crucial that the best people are selected for the right jobs. A peer-reviewed academic article by Dr. Cam Caldwell and Larry Floyd indicates that carefully evaluating new hires requires that organizations are precise in identifying the critical skills and attributes of their employees in the first place. It is more practical to hire employees based on the fact that their skills and capabilities are what is really required for the job vacancy, rather than their academic pedigree or who seems to be the best on paper. Training. Training is another essential aspect of high-performance work system. Training allows employees to acquire the skills and abilities needed to perform the job assigned to them. High-performance work systems understand the importance of committing to training employees as it increases their initiative and commitment rather than training them to assert control over them. Next, performance management. Performance management is making sure that employees know the organization's goals and what they must do to contribute to goal achievement. A good performance management system recognizes the importance of aligning the organization's goal in every aspect of the system. Individuals bring a set of skills and abilities to the job, and by applying a set of behaviors to the skills and abilities, they achieve results. This model provides some key points when drafting a performance management system. First and foremost, each aspect of performance management should be related to the organization's goals. This goes back to the job design. The work needed within the organization and who handles it is a crucial part of performance management. Business goals should influence the kinds of employees selected and their training, the requirements of each job, and the measures used for evaluating results. Generally, this means the organization identifies what each department must do to achieve the desired results, then defines how individual employees should contribute to their department's goals. Of course, there are other ways to align performance management systems to support the organization's vision, mission, and objectives. Number 1. Define and measure performance in precise terms. Focus on outcomes that can be defined in terms of how frequently certain behaviors occur. There should be criteria that describes ways how employees can add value to a product or service, or criteria for suggested behaviors that go beyond the minimum required to perform a job. Number 2. Link performance measures to meeting customer needs. Customers may be the organization's external customers, or they may be internal customers, as when employees receive services from a co-worker. In other words, to provide better services to customers, employees should learn how to link and connect with each other to complement each other's strengths and weaknesses. Number 3. Measure and correct for the effect of situational constraints. Monitor economic conditions, the organization's culture, and other influences on performance. Measures of employees' performance should take these influences into account. Lastly, compensation. Compensation supports high-performance organization when it is linked to performance measures. Compensation also can be tied to performance-related conditions such as successful teamwork or, in cases of a manager, job satisfaction among employees in the manager's department. A lot of studies show that when employees are rewarded and appreciated based on the results they provide to the company, they are more likely to perform better. Compensating employees based on performance is often regarded as an element of a high-performance culture. Let us next discuss HRM technology in high-performance work systems. HRM technology. Through new technology, this involves automation and collaboration, that is, using equipment and information processing to perform activities that have been performed by people and facilitating electronic communication between them. Using automation can free HRM experts to concentrate on ways to determine how human resource management can help the organization meet its goals, so technology can also make the function more valuable. HRM applications. HRM applications range from software performed on systems that enable analysis of data being gathered. Systems typically take the form of transaction processing, decision support systems, and expert systems. Transaction processing. Transaction processing is where computations and calculations involved in reviewing and documenting HRM decisions and practices. Decision support system. Decision support systems are computer software systems designed to help managers solve problems by showing how results vary when the manager alters assumptions or data. Lastly, expert systems. These are computer systems that support decision making by incorporating the decision rules used by people who are considered to have expertise in a certain area. Collectively, these three systems often form the human resource information system. What is a human resource information system? Human resource information system is characterized by its use of relational databases, which store data in separate files that can be linked by common elements. These common elements are fields identifying the type of data, such as name, social security number, job status, position, etc. The ability to locate and combine many categories of data has a multitude of uses in human resource management. Databases have been developed to track employee benefit costs, training courses, and compensation. HR Dashboard is one of the recent developments in HRIS technology. It displays a series of HR measures showing the HR goals and progress toward meeting such goals. Next is the Human Resource Management Online or Electronic HRM. As companies shift to the digital age, companies began to recognize the growing relevance of electronic HR or providing HR-related information over and through the internet. A benefit of EHRM is that employees can help themselves to the information they need when they need it instead of contacting an HR staff person. For example, employees can go online to enroll in or select benefits, enter trainings and seminars, submit insurance claims, or fill out employee satisfaction surveys. If HRIS has HR dashboards, recent technology of EHRM is cloud computing, which is the practice of using a network of remote servers hosted on the internet to store, manage, and process data. Now that we know all of this, why is human resource management important? By identifying the internal customers who utilize its services and assessing if it is fulfilling their demands, HRM can raise the quality of its services by adopting a customer-oriented strategy. For an organization's human resource division, customers are the organization as a whole and its other divisions. They are customers of HRM because they depend on HRM to provide a variety of services that result in a supply of talented, motivated employees. A key aspect of knowing how effective the HRM is through a human resource management audit. An HRM audit is a formal review of the outcomes of HRM functions based on identifying key HRM functions and measures of business performance. To conduct the audit, the HR department identifies key functions and the key measures of business performance and customer satisfaction that would indicate each function is succeeding. Some of these measures include staffing, compensation, benefits, training, appraisal and development, and overall effectiveness. For example, business indicators for staffing would include ratio of acceptances to offers made. For compensation, average salary increases. Benefits, percentage of sick leave to total pay. Training, budget allocation of training per employee. Employee appraisal and development, use of appropriate psychometric properties of appraisal forms, and for overall effectiveness, ratio of per capita revenues to cost would be a nice basis to audit. Apart from HR audit, another way to measure the effectiveness of a company's HRM is through what we call HR analytics. HR analytics involves determining the impact of or the financial costs and benefits of a program or practice. For example, if the organization sets up a training program, it should set up goals for that program such as the training's effects on learning, behavior, and performance management. The analysis would then measure whether the training program achieved the preset goals.
The next topic for assessing and improving performance is managing employees' performance. To begin, let us first define performance management. Performance management is a frequent communication process between managers and employees. This process is when managers ensure that employees' activities and outputs contribute to the organization's goals. This is an ongoing process that demands critical and creative thinking from both parties involved and is centered on planning, observing, and reviewing the employee's system of carrying out job duties. I am going to show you the activities involved in this process, but before that, let us know what are the purposes of performance management. So, why do we need to manage employees' performances? Organizations establish performance management systems to meet three purposes. First is the strategic purpose. Performance management systems help top management achieve business objectives by linking the organization's goals with individual and team goals. Second is the administrative purpose. This purpose of performance management system is to develop employees who are efficient at their work. If the employees are not performing efficiently, performance management seeks to develop their performance. And lastly, the development purpose. The information stimulated from performance management system is often used for promotion, wage increase, salary management, devising retention and termination processes, and most important being an individual's performance recognition. Now that we've understood why we establish a performance management system, let us proceed to the steps involved in the performance management process. The first step is defining the performance outcome. Here, we create a performance management plan that clearly identifies the desired outcomes. Take note that these outcomes should support the company's goals. We also devise how can we carry out the plan to blend in with daily work assignments, and how does each assignment contribute to the success of the company as a whole. In developing an effective performance management plan, it is essential to involve the employees in the decision-making process. The second step is developing employees' goals, behavior, and actions to achieve outcomes. The performance management plan will remain a dream until you break it down into actionable steps that are SMART. If you recall SMART goals, it stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. This tool is effective in providing clarity, focus, and motivation the employees need to achieve the desired outcomes. Step number 3 is providing support and ongoing performance discussion. For effective performance management, providing organizational support such as training, resources, and tools is necessary. Along with the organizational support is the discussion of the necessary feedback between employees and managers regularly to improve one's performance. The fourth step is performance evaluation. This involves regular progress review to know that you are still on track and to update necessary changes because the objectives that were written in the first step might have changed focus, gone up or down the priority list, or even dropped altogether. After evaluating the performance, the next step is either to identify necessary improvements and/or provide consequences for performance results. Both are part of establishing a development plan. The employee and manager should examine the performance strengths and weaknesses and identify procedures for potential development. Also, provide consequences for performance results to increase employee motivation. Consequences may include pay increases, bonuses, and action plans depending on the results. So, these are the steps involved in the process of performance management. Now, we are down to the 5 criteria for measuring the effectiveness of a performance management system. The first criteria is the strategic congruence. The performance management system should aim at achieving employee behavior and attitudes that support the organization's strategy, goals, and culture. Second is the validity. Performance management assesses all the relevant and only relevant aspects of job performance. To better understand validity, let's take a look at this figure. We have two circles here representing the job performance measure and the actual job performance. The overlap of these two circles is the validity, which contains valid and relevant information. Contamination, or the yellow shaded part, is the information gathered that is irrelevant, while deficiency is the information that is not gathered but relevant. Validity is concerned with increasing the overlap between actual job performance and the measure of job performance. The next criteria is the reliability. It is related to the stability of the performance measure. We actually have two types of reliability, namely inter-rater and test-retest. Inter-rater reliability is the stability among individuals who evaluate an employee's performance. This is present in a performance measure if two individuals give the same, or at least close to being the same, assessments of a person's job performance. The second type of reliability is the test-retest reliability. This assumes that the true score being measured is the same over a short time interval. The second to the last criteria is acceptability. This is the extent to which a performance measure is considered to be useful and reasonable by those who use it. Many performance measures are reliable and valid but consume so much of the evaluator's times that they decline to use them, and also the employees being evaluated does not accept them. The last criteria is the specific feedback. This is the extent to which the performance measure gives particular guidance to employees about the organization's expectations and the ways to meet them. Without pointing out the expectation and specifying measures to be undertaken by the employee, it would be difficult for the organization to achieve the strategic purpose. There are a lot of traditional and modern methods used for measuring performance. However, I am only going to discuss some of the modern methods. We have here management by objectives, 360-degree feedback, assessment center method, behaviorally anchored rating scale, and psychological appraisal. Let us begin with the management by objectives. In this method, managers and employees together identify, plan, organize, and communicate objectives to focus on during a specific appraisal period. After setting clear goals, managers and subordinates periodically discuss the progress made to control and debate on the feasibility of achieving those set objectives. The second method is the 360-degree feedback. This method evaluates an employee using feedback that is collected from the employee's circle of influence, namely managers, peers, customers, and direct reports. This method will not only eliminate bias in performance reviews, but also offer a clear understanding of an individual's competence. Using just one person as a source of information poses certain problems. Next is the assessment center method. This method enables employees to get a clear picture of how others observe them and the impact it has on their performance. So basically, there will be an assessment where employees are asked to participate in a social simulation exercises like in basket exercises, informal discussions, role play, and other exercises that ensure success in a role. The main advantage of this method is that it will not only assess the existing performance of the individual, but also predict future job performance. The next method is the BARS, or Behaviorally Anchored Rating Scale. This compares employee performance with specific behavioral examples that are anchored to numerical ratings. Each performance level on a bar scale is anchored by multiple bar statements, which describe common behaviors that an employee routinely exhibits. The last method is the psychological appraisal. This method focuses on analyzing an employee's future performance rather than their past work. These are used to analyze 7 major components of an employee's performance, such as interpersonal skills, cognitive abilities, intellectual traits, leadership skills, personality traits, emotional quotient, and other related skills. For instance, the way in which an employee deals with an aggressive customer can be used to appraise his or her persuasion skills, behavioral response, emotional response, and more. So, these are some of the modern methods for measuring performance. Let's have a quick evaluation. It is the method that evaluates an employee using feedback collected from the employee's circle of influence, namely managers, peers, customers, and direct reports. The correct answer is letter B, 360-degree feedback. Since 360-degree feedback is about collecting feedback from employees' circle of influence, let us now be familiarized with the 5 major sources of feedback or information. First is the employee's manager. One advantage of managers being the source of information is that they possess basic qualities for this responsibility because they have immense knowledge of the job requirement. Another advantage is that they provide helpful feedback because their success depends on their employees' performance. As much as the managers have enough opportunity to observe employees, there are still other situations where manager cannot observe his or her employee. The best example is a sales manager with many outside salespeople, but the manager cannot be with the salespeople on many visits to customers. The second source is your peers or coworkers. They are a great source of information about your performance because they have the most opportunity to observe your day-to-day activities and they have knowledge of job requirements. An obvious disadvantage for this source is the potential to bias ratings and when peers get uncomfortable with rating other employees. Next are the subordinates. Subordinates are those people who report to the manager. They are the most valuable source of information about the performance of the managers because they have the best opportunity to see how well a manager treats employees. However, subordinates are sometimes reluctant to provide information because of the power relationship involved. They prefer to provide feedback anonymously because sometimes evaluations are used for administrative decisions. The next source of performance information is yourself. As they say, no one knows you better than yourself. Self-rating can contribute to valuable information, but there is a tendency to inflate the assessment. This is why self-rating is rarely used alone. The last source of performance information is the customer. Customers are often the only people who directly observe the service performance and may be the best source of performance information. The only disadvantage is the expense of traditional survey of evaluating an employee.
Presented are common types of rating errors. Rating errors occur when people often tend to give a higher rating to people they consider similar to themselves. Inaccuracy, such as contrast error, occurs when the rater compares an individual, not against to an objective standard, but to other employees. Another rating error is the distributional error, which occurs when raters tend to use only one part of a rating scale. This makes it difficult to compare employees rated by the same person. Distributional errors involve leniency, strictness, and central tendency. Leniency is an error when the reviewer rates everyone near the top. Strictness occurs when the rater favors lower ranking, and central tendency is when the rater puts everyone near the middle of the scale. Rating errors also occur when raters often let their opinion of one quality color their opinion of others. Such errors include halo error and horns error. Halo errors arises when raters rate employees positively in all areas because of strong performance observed only in one area. Conversely, Horn's error arises when raters rate employees negatively in all areas because of weak performance observed only in one area. To minimize these errors, presented are the ways to reduce errors. The first is the implementation of training programs. Training programs help raters to be aware of their tendencies to make rating errors. Moreover, trained raters can be sensitive to complex nature of employee performance, so they will consider many dimensions of performance in greater depth. Politics also may influence ratings. Organizations can minimize appraisal politics by establishing a fair appraisal system through the conduct of a calibration meeting, where managers were brought together to discuss ratings. After the performance measurements, feedback is given to employees. Presented are the ways on how to provide performance feedback effectively. First, scheduling performance feedback. During scheduling, performance feedback should be a regular scheduled management activity so that employees can correct problems as soon as they occur. And then, after scheduling, prepare for a feedback session. Managers should prepare by establishing a neutral location, emphasizing that the feedback session will be a chance for discussion, and asking the employee to prepare a self-assessment. This serves as preparation for the employees to be prepared as well. After all, prepare and conduct the feedback session. During the feedback session, managers should strive for a problem-solving approach and encourage employees to voice their opinions and discuss performance goals. The manager should look for opportunities to praise and should limit criticism. The discussion should focus on behavior and results rather than on personalities. Performance measurements are conducted to evaluate employees. As such, there are low performers which may affect the organization's performance. Presented are the ways to produce improvement in unsatisfactory performance. Some factors affect an employee's performance includes the lack of ability, motivation, or both. When an employee lacks the ability, the manager should provide coaching and training, give detailed feedback about performance, and consider restructuring the job. Another factor is the lack of motivation. When an employee lacks motivation, the manager should investigate whether outside problems are a distraction. And if so, refer the employee for help. If the problem has to do with the employees not feeling appreciated or rewarded, the manager should try to deliver more praise and evaluate whether additional pay and other rewards are appropriate. In some situations, employees lack both ability and motivation. The managers should consider whether the employee is a good fit for the position, and specific feedback or withholding rewards may spur improvement, or the employee may have to be demoted or terminated. Legal and ethical issues can affect performance management. Presented are the legal requirements for performance management. Discrimination in the workplace is the most common issue that arises in lawsuits. Managers must make sure that performance management systems and decisions treat employees equally, without regard to their race, sex, or other protected status. Organizations can do this by utilizing well-established and well-defined performance measures and pieces of trainings to help them improve. A system is more likely to be legally defensible if it is based on behaviors and results rather than on traits. Employee monitoring's main purpose is to protect its resources from theft and provide accurate information. However, organizations should also protect their employees' privacy. Therefore, the organization should explain its purpose, links it to help in improving performance, and secure the Performance data privacy.
Separating and retaining employees. Starting with employee separation, which is often known as separation of employment, is the management of the closure of the work cycle. In other words, it is the action of terminating a worker's job, and it can either be voluntary or involuntary. While it is advantageous to keep good employees, businesses end up losing money when they keep poor employees. Ensuring that ineffective workers don't stay with the company is frequently just as crucial as keeping productive employees. Involuntary turnover occurs when the organization starts the turnover. For instance, an employee is showing a poor performance in his job or the background check failed, which includes fabricating documents and failing drug tests. Voluntary turnover, on the other hand, occurs when the employees instigate the turnover. For instance, job abandonment or the employee found another job. Organizations typically find ways to reduce voluntary turnover and eliminate the necessity for involuntary turnover, particularly among their best performers. In the table of costs associated with turnover, it is noticeable that the cost of turnover is high for both types. It is expensive to hire new staff, and it takes time for them to become accustomed to their roles and develop collaborative skills. Next is the principles of justice, which focuses on how employees perceive how the organization behaves and how this behavior relates to how employees behave and feel about the company. This consists of three main forms: the outcome, procedural, and the interactional. First, the outcome fairness is where circumstances for one employee should be equal with those for other employees. Employees experience distributive justice when they think that results are fair. These results can be measurable like pay or intangible like appreciated remarks. Distributive justice arises when workers feel they are being paid fairly or treated equitably. Next is the procedural justice. This concentrates on the fairness of the decision-making or process that results in these conclusions. It concentrates on the outcomes. When procedures are reliable, accurate, ethical, and free of bias, employees also believe that they are fair. Lastly, the interactional justice focuses on how a person is handled when decisions are made. People believe that they are treated fairly when companies give reason for decisions and treat employees with care and compassion. Legal requirements. Although the law offers businesses a lot of flexibility in hiring and dismissing, they nevertheless have to adhere to certain regulations. They must avoid the following. First is the wrongful discharge, as this firstly indicates that the dismissal may not go against an implied agreement. A discharge may also be deemed unlawful if it goes against public policy. Second is the discrimination. Employers must make judgment regarding employees' employment without taking into account their age, sex, race, or any other protected status. Third, employee privacy. Regardless of how delicately the organization collects data resulting in disciplinary proceedings, it should also take privacy concerns into account when selecting who will see this data. And last but not the least, the notification of layoffs. If a company intends to make such extensive layoffs, Workers' Adjustment, Retraining, and Notification Act may apply. According to this federal rule, businesses with more than 100 workers are required to give 60 days notice before any closures or layoffs that will affect at least 50 full-time workers. Next is the progressive discipline. The Human Resource Department's main duty is to establish a proper discipline procedure. The hot stove rule is a well-known guideline for effective response. For the purpose of identifying inappropriate behaviors, establishing rules, and enforcing penalties for breaking the rules, the HR professional should consult with managers and supervisors. The regulations should address disciplinary issues like the following conduct, which is common in many organizations, like tardiness, absenteeism, poor quantity or quality of work, and etc. The actions depicted in figure are the typical responses to a sequence of violations in a progressive punishment system that detects and communicates unwanted conduct. These actions include verbal and written warnings, interim suspension, and termination, by making employees aware of what is expected of them and forcing them to make an effort to comply. This method serves the objective of discipline. Alternative dispute resolution. It is a method of resolving a conflict, lawsuit, or dispute outside of court. The parties in dispute instead decide to engage an ADR procedure like mediation or arbitration. First is the open door policy, where employees' direct boss is typically the first open door, and if that person is unable to help, the employee may then turn to supervisors at higher levels. Peer review, a method of settling conflicts by bringing them before a panel of organization representatives who are on the same level as the parties involved in a conflict. In mediation, the parties continue to try to resolve the conflict on their own, but a mediator serves as an impartial third party who listens to both sides. It helps them talk about the issue and then assists them in making a decision. The mediator has no influence over the result. Arbitration. When conflicting parties agree they want a third party to make the decision, arbitration is used. An arbitrator, who is unbiased, hears the argument from both parties, weighs the evidence, and finally renders a verdict. Arbitration comes in two types: the binding, where the arbitrator's judgment is final, and the non-binding arbitration, where if either party disagrees with the arbitrator's ruling, they may seek a court trial. Employee Assistance Program, or EAP, is a referral service that employees can use to seek professional treatment for emotional problems or substance abuse. The main features of ideal EAPs are accessibility, where EAPs are to be made available online for easy access, and it can be accessible 24/7, hence making it available. Confidential, the program's most crucial component, including security. Outplacement counseling, a methodical procedure used to train a fired employee. It is frequently provided by specialized outside companies and is a component of the terminated employee support or severance package. It facilitates the transfer from one employment to another for displaced workers. The goal is to provide a new career challenge and integration into a new work environment for the employee. Employee engagement. It refers to how deeply interested workers are in their work and how strongly committed they are to organization. Higher productivity, better customer service, and lower turnover are all benefits that a company can clearly benefit from having employees that are invested in their work and the organization they work for. And did you know that employees are more engaged at profitable companies? According to Quantum Workplace Research, organizations with rising earnings have more engaged workers than those with flat or declining revenues. According to the same study, employees were less likely to feel appreciated, have faith in senior management, or believe their work was in line with company strategy in businesses with stagnant or declining profitability.
So going on in this slide, we are going to talk about the different forms of the job withdrawal. They either develop a set of behavior in succession to avoid their work situation. In the behavior change area, an employee will try to change the situation that is causing the dissatisfaction. For example, if the employee is not happy within the management style, he or she might be considered a department move. However, in the physical withdrawal phase, the employee may do the following: is the job takes as internal transfer and start become absent or tired. On the contrary, if an employee is unable predicted job situation, he or she may encounter a physical job withdrawal, whether they become disengaged and measure job involvement to the organization, which will make costs to the company, such as dissatisfied customers. Next is the job satisfaction. which defined as a pleasant feeling resulting from the perception that one job fulfills or allows for the fulfillment of one's important job values. It has three important aspects to be considered: the function of values, the different view of employees, and their perception. The next slide are the different sources of job satisfaction, and we may start from the personal disposition. It has been defined that disposition is their mood or general attitudes about their lives. Another one is the tasks and roles of an employee, where is the predictor of a job dissatisfaction. Nothing surpasses than the nature of the tasks itself. Many aspects of a task have been linked to the job dissatisfaction. Next is the supervisors and the co-workers. They affect the job situation satisfaction. A person may be satisfied for his or for her supervisor for 1 to 3 reasons. The first reason is the people share the same values, attitudes, and philosophies. Most individuals find this very important, and many organizations try to foster a culture of shared values. Even when this does not occur across the whole organization, values shared between workers and their supervisor can increase satisfaction. Second reason is the co-workers and supervisors may provide social support, meaning they are sympathetic and caring. Social support greatly increases job satisfaction. Whether the support comes from supervisors or co-workers. Turnover is also lower among employees who experience support from other members of the organization. The last reason is the co-workers or supervisor may help the person attain some valued outcome. For example, they can help a new employee figure out what goals to pursue and how to achieve them. The last source of job dissatisfaction is the pay and benefits. With the company have good pay and benefits, there will be no problem for the employment. For some people, pay is a reflection of their activity, so pay satisfaction takes a critical significance when it comes to the tension. But if in contrary, it may lead to job dissatisfaction. And the last slide is the monitoring job satisfaction. If the business wish to assess or measure the satisfaction level of its employees, they may consider using the following scale: the Job Description Index, which emphasizes various phases of satisfaction, including pay, the work itself, supervision, co-workers, and promotions. The other one is the Pay Satisfaction Questionnaire. It focuses on the mark specific dimensions such as pay levels, benefits, pay structures, and pay raises. Thus, measure gave a more detailed view of exactly what aspects of pay are most really satisfying. And this ends our presentation. Thank you for listening.